This week's video is all about fine art, landscape, stroke, seascape photography, and I'm photographing these bad boys in the background. I've been inspired to come here by some fantastic images I've seen online, by some fantastic fine art landscape photographers as well, one of which is my very good friend Ant, and he came here, contacted me and said, Gary, you really must go here because it is brilliant. Hence the reason I'm here, and it looks truly amazing. But trying to capture a landscape photography image from here is certainly not for the faint of heart, because it comes with many challenges. So let's just highlight those challenges to begin with, because this is the first thing that I do. I really assess what it's going to be like to actually capture a fine art image from here. Well, first and foremost, high tide today is at midday. Midday is an hour away from now, and it's probably the brightest and warmest and clearest day of the year. So the lighting conditions midday, trying to take really long exposure, is going to be a challenge in itself. Not to be done by that, I've got my 10 stop, my 15 stop filter anyway, so that's not really a problem. The place itself is very busy, so there's lots of families around and people coming and taking photographs. Again, it's not really a problem. But the biggest challenge of all is the background. There's boats everywhere, there's land in the background, and of course when it comes to minimalistic photography or fine art photography, you need to get rid of all of that. So of course the biggest headache and the biggest challenge really for anybody who's going to come down here and attempt to take fine art images, obviously of the huts, is you really need to be quite proficient in Photoshop. If you're not proficient, then you'll certainly not be able to come here and achieve decent looking fine art landscape pictures. But yeah, I suppose it's the challenges really that drive us on, and I'm really excited, and I just can't wait to get stuck into this today. As much as I'm moaning, I'm not moaning about the weather, by the way, but this is fantastic. Oh, breathless. I did want to get the drone out, but there's a beachside cafe down there and there's lots of people drinking, and of course I don't want to upset them, so you have to be respectful when you want to get the drone out. But when the tide comes all the way in, I might possibly sneak it up just for a couple of minutes, because it does look good. It looks awesome. You see what I mean about challenges? Right, so my assessment, walking up and down and scouting out locations, I've got 3 locations that I fancy shooting. One is pretty much from this angle here, capturing all of the huts in. A second one is all the way down to the end, just capturing 3 at an angle, and then possibly isolating one, shooting directly out, just to keep it really minimalistic. So fingers crossed the tide comes in far enough. We've got about 15 minutes before the tide is all the way in. But the beauty about the tide heights today is they're fairly high, but tomorrow there's a massive jump, so they're much higher. So if I don't capture, or if I don't manage to capture a shot with the tide high enough today, then I'll certainly be sticking around and capturing this image tomorrow, possibly even tonight. Looks like a very clear night. Could be a starry shot. Right, well, I think it's fair to say that that was a massive disappointment. Not because of the lighting conditions or because of the weather. It's just because the tide height was really too low to cover. It's not even so much the walkways that I wanted covering, it's the grass. And there's so much of it. We really need a little bit more water just to give us a fighting chance to enable us to be able to remove all of the foreground as well as the background. But the reason why I come down here today, because I've got so much to do. I'm going to be here for 2 or 3 days, and the tide height jumps quite considerably tomorrow and the same again the day after. In actual fact, the lighting conditions and the weather is much more favourable for us for tomorrow. So that's it. I can't do any more than that. You'll just have to wait until I'm back here tomorrow, which is probably about now. But it's not really tomorrow today. Today is 2 days from 2 days ago. So tomorrow is yesterday. If that makes sense. I'm 2 days on. So then, just to clarify, I'm now 2 days on from where I was 2 days ago. I said I was going to come back here yesterday, but I decided not to because we did the boat wrecks instead. Now, if you haven't seen the video from the boat reps, and there'll either be a link up there if I released it before this one, or you'll have to wait till next week to see it. But yeah, really cool. I shot the boat wrecks at Pin Mill. Okay, so we're back here again. And it's looking good. The tide height is over 1/2 meter higher today, so I'm expecting the tide to come over all of these boards, but more importantly all over this grass. It wouldn't have been an issue, you know, removing the grass, but obviously you want to try and get it as right in camera as you possibly can. So this is the situation, day 2. It's now 11:30 and high tide is at 1 o'clock. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a much higher tide. So I am expecting the tide to come up to around about 1/3 of the way up, possibly there, about 1/3 of the way up on these stairs. But yeah, these are cool things, aren't they? I wonder whatever possessed somebody to actually build beach huts away from the shoreline, knowing that the sea is going to lash against them. Okay, lash under them every day, but obviously on a high tide and when there's a storm, I imagine these things must get battered. I'm sure I've mentioned it earlier on, but what I love about these is their muted colours. The colour scheme is just fantastic, although I know I'm going to turn them into black and white, I know it, but at least now I have the opportunity to have an alternative colour version as well. I'm excited about today. Bright blue sky, which is never a good thing. Very bright. It's a lot cooler today though, which means I can get the drone out. When I say I can get the drone out because it's cooler, what I mean by that is 2 days ago it was so warm here, it was about 28, 29 degrees, and there was kids playing in the sea, people swimming, and women lying down in bikinis, and of course that's never a good time to get your drone out, absolutely not. But today, different ball game. It's about 15 degrees, it's still a bit warm, but clearly not warm enough for people to flock down here and go out for a swim in the sea. So I've already got my drone out once, and undoubtedly I shall get my drone out again when the tide is fully in. So as always, rushing around trying a few different compositions. One of them I quite like, which is isolating just one of the huts and utilising or using the stairs or steps as a leading line. I think it could be quite interesting. The challenge is I'm shooting directly into the sun at the moment, which is a real pain in the backside. All the clouds, pretty much all of them are dissipated, sun's come out and the wind's picked up. It's just giving us ammunition to moan more as landscape photographers. Well, it's today or nothing. I'm not staying down here for another day longer, but yeah, this is looking really cool. I'm loving the shots. I'm loving the challenge that this brings. I kind of scuppered my original plan, but I've got one more composition that I want to try out. That is it. As always, it didn't come without its challenges, shall we say. What a fantastic place. Oh, it must be brilliant if you live here, when you could pick and choose your different weather conditions and lighting. Oh, it must just be brilliant. So all that's left me to do now, I suppose, is just to show you my images, and you guys could judge for yourself whether this has been a successful trip or not. Before we go there though, I just want to take this opportunity to say hi and thanks to Andrea and Brian. They come and said hello to me while they were down here. Not only are they followers on my YouTube channel, but they're members of my YouTube channel as well. And guys, I'm eternally grateful for that. And fingers crossed you guys come away with some decent pictures like I'm hoping to have captured as well. I think that makes sense. Andrea, Brian, thanks for saying hi. Right guys, let's take a look at these pictures. Cheers.